Hi, this is Sam Hines, and this is my speech on how should children be disciplined and my view on corporal punishment. So we will start with our first slide: corporal punishment in schools, corporal punishment in homes, and corporal punishment and the Bible. To start off, back in 1977, corporal punishment was officially banned in 31 states across the United States. This did exclude all private institutions that were not funded or receiving money from public agencies or the government. This allowed Christian um, schools, private schools, and private institutions to discipline the children that they saw fit um, at that time. In those cases, either a official from the school, a principal, administrator, or a dean of students would administer the corporal punishment, or the parent could come in from their job and do that. That is still the case today in many private schools, high schools, and elementary schools across the United States right now. Corporal punishment in homes, as of today, it has to be done uh, kind of quietly. If someone sees you disciplining your child or spanking your child, they do have the right, and some people will call a child service agency, a DCFS, or a social services, child social services agency, and report that because some people see that as abuse, which is very difficult for Christians, especially for us who believe the Bible and follow some of those principles. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Treat a child in the way they should go, and when they grow old, they will not depart from that way." We've also heard the scripture from Proverbs, "Spare the rod, spoil a child." So we do, and I personally believe that if we're not giving the children discipline in some way, shape, or form, that we're actually doing a disservice to the child. There also are other ways and other options for discipline. Corporal punishment is just one means to discipline our child. Definitely when the child is old enough, putting them in timeout, having them think about what they have done and how they're going to change either their attitude or their actions going forward. Also, once you get into the teenage years, definitely grounding them, not allowing them to go to any special activities, taking away fun times, especially for some kids as they get older. Maybe the toy that they like to play with or the activity they like to play with, taking that away. And then you can also have extra chores at the house, washing the car, doing some extra yard work, some weeding, um, extra things that they are not normally doing on a day to day basis. Um, to teach them and guide them and give them some self discipline along the way. Um, Lastly, the success with corporal punishment. There are some key biblical principles. Proverbs 23:13. Do not withhold discipline from a child. Um, if we do discipline them, we're saving them from Sheol, or we're saving them from hell or chaos, some terminologies would say. Um, Looking at the Christian home versus the secular home, again, like I said earlier, the secular home sees corporal punishment as abuse or teaching the child violence, or even that the act of spanking or disciplining the child through means of corporal punishment will bring on learning disabilities or insecurities, or they will have to go see counselors once they get older to deal with anger management. And I strongly disagree with that to an extent. I believe that the discipline has to be in love. It has to be um, with a purpose and driven, and not physical abuse. I in no way condone physical abuse, but I do believe that God gave us that that cushion on the back of our behinds, um, and using that to discipline your child and spanking that bottom just a little bit to get a little sting and get their attention, I think is okay. We see that over and over again in Proverbs as they're talking about children and sparing the rod and not spoiling the child, ensuring that we're using the rod to guide and discipline uh, them because we love them, not because we want to abuse them. I strongly believe, as a parent myself, that if I do not discipline my son, someone else, somewhere will, and it might not necessarily be with the rod. Looking at some of the young men who've died at the hand of gun violence in dealings with police officers, I truly believe that if those young men had been disciplined by someone in the home prior to those situations, that they may have ended a little bit differently. I'm not saying that the child or the young man that got shot was in fault, or um, the police officer. However, I believe that the police officer did what he needed to do in that situation to discipline them, to control those actions and what was going on. Um, and if his parents had done that prior to, those young men, some of those young men may very well be with us today, and their parents didn't have to bury them. So I am an advocate for corporal punishment when it's done in love, when it's done with a purpose, and the understanding that this is not abuse, but it is to guide and revere and teach my child some self-discipline and to be a better citizen uh, in their life and in our home here. So thank you so much and have a good day.